I win! Gin down, boys, we did it. The dump truck bides its time before it makes the journey atop the hill. Hi guys, good morning. I'll start by showing off what I've got. So as I load in, you probably noticed that this chest down here is already open, and this pot over here, the lid's already been taken off, but the barrel still has its lid. And if I go up here, well, this chest is normal, so I'm going to go, and first of all, ding, it actually comes up with the message, receive more tonic. I can go to the menu and verify that I actually got that. 2 more tonics, there we go. As with the previous episodes, I only spawn with 1. Let's go and take off the lid of that pot, and then I'm going to close the game. Then I'm going to open the game again, and the changes I made, the objects I've interacted with, they persist. Woohoo! So that means we've got some saving and loading action happening. We've also got the ability to give chests and by extensions NPCs and pots and stuff the ability to show messages, and those messages can contain an item reward. And if you see I load in, well, my item count's actually reset because the only thing that is saving are the states of these things. None of the inventory or equipment and stuff is saving just yet, but we've opened the way for stuff like that to happen. Now if I talk to an NPC, oh that's right, I actually took off the dialogue, because one of the part of getting this working was previously with the dialogue object. In the object itself, it had like a lot of stuff here, and it had a bunch of lines, and so they were being shared across all the NPCs. But because I needed to dynamically add dialogue, for instance a treasure chest, they contain different items, so the receives whatever message has to adapt. So because of that, I had to make some changes to the dialogue system as well. So most of the work has been in changing the dialogue system, and a little bit of work has gone into the saving and loading. Another thing that was required in getting the persisting object states working was more solid definitions of what those objects actually are. And now in this project there are 2 kinds of treasure chests, let's call them. There's the treasure chest, which is they're going to be few and far between. You know, they're the big item containers. They have deterministic loot, and once you open them, of course, you can't open them again for the whole game. There's a few things there. To be able to keep them persistent, we need to record our chests. So like with enemies and commands and items and stuff, I've got a little enumerator going for the chest indexes. There are 4 chests so far, and they're all located in town. And the information associated with the chest is the item it contains and whether or not it's been opened, which of course will start as false in any new save file. So if I go to where we actually spawn in the objects, add map object and add objects for town, you can see the place chest has been developed slightly to include the index associated with what kind of chest it is. All chests now actually have a dialogue object associated with them, just like NPCs do, so technically you can talk to them. What's going on here is that when we give a chest an index that corresponds to our enumerator here, and by extension the item that's associated with that chest, once we place the chest in the game world, so when we load that map, we need to decide what dialogue to add to it, and there's going to be 2 choices. Either it gets the item, or if the chest is actually empty, you know, we might have some troll chests, then it'll have a dialogue which just has this hard string, chest is empty. So another thing we've had to add to the dialogue object as well to get this working is the ability that a text prompt can actually contain an item reward as well as the message. So yeah, very cool. The other kind of treasure object currently are the pots and barrels and any other object that you can interact with. It might vary based on the kind of biome that you're in, but these are more common things. You know, they're like Legend of Zelda, the pots laying around, and you break the pots and they can have all sorts of things kind of deal. But the issue with that is it would be a huge amount of effort to set up definitions like these for every single object when they don't necessarily need to be that complicated. The reason why I want all the chests to be remembered is that the chests will have very specifically hard to find items, but with the pots and barrels I don't necessarily want to do that. I think what I want to do for these is that their rewards are actually randomized, but they're randomized within reason. They'll be like less powerful rewards. It's kind of like, you know, turning every unturned stone and finding whatever like loose change or garbage you can find, and you might be lucky enough to get a few potions out of some pots or something. That kind of stuff. It's just stuff to interact with, stuff that you can make minor changes to the world in, like the pot lids come off and the barrel lids come off, stuff like that. So to keep it simpler, I haven't associated them with an ID. Instead what I've done is each map now indexes this array called map treasure opened, and each of these, based on the order that they're created in the script, they will assume the identifier of this list as the second index, where the first index is the map. So each map has a list of these random objects, and that allows me to record the opened or closed state, because whenever the objects are loaded in for a map, the order that they're loaded in is the same every time. So whilst I don't explicitly have a hard index that I'm giving the chests here, they do have a value that's useful enough to determine whether it's opened or closed or not. So that's how I'm doing that, and that kind of reflects in how I'm saving and loading. So the way I'm saving and loading is quite simple. It's mostly with like GameMaker native functions, because the idea is just to create a file and to write to the file. Saving just throws it in this, which is located at local app data. That's where GameMaker says default. And so all this is just, you know, if the file doesn't exist yet because we haven't saved it all, then create one, all good. And then save treasures is the actual saving that we're doing, and is the only saving that we're doing at the moment, really. So, and there are two steps here. There's treasure chests, which there's just a global amount of treasure chests. They're not map dependent, so we loop through all of those, and then we can just read and write whether they're opened or not, easy peasy. For the lesser chests, we loop through all of the maps, and then we loop through the maximum possible of treasure amount, which is just a throwaway value. I'm pretty sure it's 100 at the moment, but it doesn't really matter. And load treasures, you know, we're just reading them back, and we run that when the game starts. At the moment, the game only saves when game end is triggered, which is triggered when the game ends by natural causes. So if you close the game window, it saves automatically. It's not foolproof. If the game crashes, then game end won't be run. So typically, I mean, I haven't really decided how I'm gonna do saves yet. There'll probably be some kind of auto saving for safety. Periodically, you won't necessarily save everything, but if that's the case, then it will have to happen on game end, and it'll probably happen on stuff like level transitions or whatever. Cool, that was a bit of in-depth on my persisting objects. Yeah, I'll catch you guys on that one. Peace. So to close off, there's one last thing I'll demonstrate. I've selected one of my NPCs being spawned into the scene, and with the new dialogue controls I've given him a dialogue, and I've added these lines here. You can see I've got one very long line, similar length to the big test one I was using before, but then I've added two more lines of text which are much shorter. So I'll go ahead and run it, and this was also part of my rework of the dialogues, and the purpose was to extend the big text string that the dialogue had into an array of text strings. And the reason is so that as I start printing out this first one, hey guys, good morning, don't forget to like video and subscribe for more great dev blog content from Henez. Consider also following my Twitter so that you can be sure you won't miss an episode. I can assure you that you do not want to miss. Then I continue. An episode, I repeat, do not want to miss an episode of SJFS. It's the goo. Wait, I lost one of my characters. It's the good. Okay, well, I think I've introduced a bug where it cuts off the last character. It looks like the width check is overflowing a little bit as well, but that's alright. You notice that because it got to the end of this text, it's not doing the autofill despite having more text. And then I progress to the next one. Yeah, I'm losing my last character here. Thanks guys, I'll catch you on the next. And then I've got one more. But it's on. That's partially for flavor reasons. If I have characters talking to each other, then I'd want to stream through one character's dialogue, but then I want to have a break for when the next character's dialogue starts. And it was also necessary for getting the added functionality of a dialogue containing an item to work. If I have like a bunch of text and then I have like a receive item text afterwards, I wouldn't want to just add that string to the end of the clump. I want it to be a separate dialogue. So that was kind of some necessary stuff to do there. And that's it. Ooh, I've been awake for too long, and I'm gonna stay awake, and I'm gonna try and fix my sleep a little bit. Have a good and productive November, my friends. Let's see what we can get done this month. Thanks guys, I'll catch you on the next. Okay, I'll catch you. It's gonna be goo. I'll catch you on the next on